learning series for math. Today's lesson will be for all of our fourth graders out there, though all children are welcome to tune in. This is the first lesson in our series. My name is Miss Pereira. I teach at Venus Stewart Elementary in Gallatin, Tennessee, and I'm so excited to be your teacher for this lesson. Welcome to my virtual classroom. Today we're going to practice addition with multi-digit numbers using like units. Before we get started, so that you can participate fully in our lesson, you will need a pencil and a piece of paper. I'll give you just a few seconds to gather those materials. We're going to start by exploring unit form. What does the number look like and sound like in unit form? So if I write the number 303, how would we say that in unit form? Unit form is writing or saying a number using place value units. What do you think that number would sound like if it was read in unit form? Great job! 3 hundreds and 3 ones. What would it look like if I was to write it down? Just like it sounded. 3 hundreds, 3 ones. You're just telling me how many of each unit that you have. Now I'm going to write an addition expression. How could we read that expression in unit form? 3 hundreds and 3 ones plus 2 hundreds and 3 ones. If I was going to write that down, it would look like this. My first add-in, 3 hundredths, and 3 ones, plus my second add-in, 2 hundredths, and 3 ones. Then if I wanted to find the sum, I just add my like units. So I can add hundreds with hundreds, ones with ones. So 3 hundredths plus 2 hundredths would be 5 hundredths. 3 ones plus 3 ones would be 6 ones. So now I know what my sum looks like in unit form. What would that look like in standard form? I simply take the unit and put it where it goes in its correct place value spot. 5 hundredths. I don't have any tens, so I'm just going to put a 0 in the tens place, and 6 ones. So my sum would be 506. Now let's do some of those together. At the top of your paper, I would like for you to write this addition expression. 505 plus 404. Let's read this addition expression together in unit form. 5 hundredths and 5 ones plus 4 hundredths and 4 ones. Now let's write that in unit form. Let's start with our first add-in. 5 hundredths and 5 ones. And then let's write our second add-in in unit form. 4 hundredths and 4 ones. Again, we can add our like units. So we can add our hundreds together. We can add our ones together. So 5 hundredths and 4 hundredths gives me 9 hundredths. 5 ones and 4 ones gives me 9 ones. And you can kind of think about this like money. It's like you have 9 $100 bills and 9 $1 bills. So altogether, how much money would you have? You would have $909. 9 hundredths and 9 ones. Okay, Okay, let's try another one. The next blank space on your paper, please write this addition expression. 5,005 plus 5,004. Let's read it together in unit form. 5 thousands, 5 ones, plus 5 thousands, 4 ones. You're going to notice here we moved from a 3-digit number to a 4-digit number. So we've added a thousands place. So when we write it in unit form, we have to call it the thousands. So my first add-in would look like this. Write it with me, please. 5 thousands, 5 ones. My second add-in would look like this. 5 thousands, 4 ones. Then we can add them together, combining like units. I can put my thousands together. 5 thousands plus 5 thousands gives me 10 thousands. 5 ones plus 4 ones gives me 9 ones. So what would this sum look like in standard form? 10 thousands. I can't put the 2-digit number 10 in the thousands place. I have to do some regrouping here. I know that 10 1,000s is the same thing as 1 10,000. And my 9 ones is good just like it is. So if I'm going to write that number in standard form, I know I need a 1 in the 10,000s place. I regrouped my thousands, so I don't have any more of those. So I don't have any thousands, so I'm going to put a 0 there. I don't have any hundreds. I don't have any tens, but I do have 9 ones. So my sum would be 10,009, or 1 10,000 and 9 ones. We're going to do 2 more practice problems like this together. So move down to the next blank space on your paper and write this addition expression at the top. 7,007 plus 4,004. Let's read our addition expression in unit form. 7 thousands and 7 ones plus 4 thousands and 4 ones. Let's write each add-in in unit form. Write it with me, please. 7 thousands and 7 ones for my first add-in, and my second add-in, 4 thousands, 4 ones. Now I can add these two numbers together to get a sum. I know that 7 plus 4 is 11, so I have 11 thousands. And again, 7 plus 4 is 11, but this time it's 11 ones. So I know what my sum is in unit form. I have 11 thousands and 11 ones. But what does that number look like in standard form? Correct, I'm going to have to do some regrouping. 11 thousands, I can decompose that 11 into 10 and 1. And that 10 is equal to 1 10,000. And I have 1,000 left. My 11 ones, I can decompose that as well, 10 and 1, and my 10 ones is enough to give me 1 10. So when I write that number in standard form, it would look like this. 1 10,000, 1,000, I didn't have any hundreds, excuse me, I messed that up. 1 10,000, 1,000. I didn't have any hundreds, 1 10, and 1 1. So my sum would be 11,011, or in unit form, 1 10,000, 1,000, 1 10, and 1 1. We're going to do one more problem like that together. So on the next blank space on your paper, please write this expression at the top. 8,008 plus 5,005. Let's read that in unit form. 8 thousands and 8 ones plus 5 thousands and 5 ones. What do you think each add-in would look like written in unit form? Let's write that together now. 8 thousands, 8 ones, that represents my first add-in. My second add-in, 5 thousands, 5 ones. Now I can add them together to get a sum combining like units. I have 8 thousands and 5 thousands, so altogether I have 13 thousands. 8 ones and 5 ones. 8 and 5 make 13 again, but this time they are ones. So I'm now ready to take my unit form sum and write it in standard form. But as you can see, we've got to do some regrouping just like we did in the previous problem. So if I have 13 1,000s, I can decompose that 13 into 10 and 3, and those 10 1,000s give me 1 10,000. And my 13 ones I can decompose as well into 10 and 3. And my 10 ones are equal to 1 10. Now I can write that number in standard form. I have 1 10,000, 3 thousands, 0 hundreds, 1 10, and 3 ones. 13,013. Awesome job. Now we're going to use drawings of base 10 blocks to represent the numbers. That might help it make a little bit more concrete. So in your classroom, you've probably seen base 10 blocks that look like this. You have a ones unit, a tens rod, a hundreds flat, and a thousands cube. But you don't have these materials with you at home. So I'm going to show you how to draw them so that you can still have that nice visualization of what each place value looks like. So for our ones unit, we're going to simply draw a dot. And if you will write these with me on your paper so that you can refer back to them if needed. For our tens, we're simply going to draw a vertical line. For our 100, a square. And then for the thousands, we're going to draw a 3D cube, which you draw by drawing a square, draw another square a little off to the side, and then connect the corners. Now I'm going to test your knowledge. I'm going to represent a number with my base 10 drawings and see if you can guess what number it is that I have represented on my whiteboard. What number do you think I have represented? Awesome job. Yes, I have 2 thousands. And I'm going to start abbreviating just so that we have plenty of room. 3 hundreds, 5 tens, and 2 ones. That's what my number looks like in unit form. So in standard form, it would look like this. 2,352. Great job. Now we're going to work through a scenario problem together. We've got 2 teachers who each went and gathered up their own base 10 blocks. Miss Cole and Miss Dowling. Miss Cole collected some blocks and Miss Dowling collected some blocks. Let's record on our paper how many blocks each teacher gathered. We're going to call Miss Cole Miss C, and we're going to call Miss Dowling Miss Dow. Miss C gathered 2,000 blocks, 4 hundreds blocks, 9 tens blocks, and 3 ones blocks. Miss Dowling gathered 3,000 blocks, 100 block, 3 tens blocks, and 4 ones. Now that we know how many blocks each teacher gathered, we can draw place value blocks to represent what they have. So I'm going to make a sideways T-chart, and I'm going to put a C for Miss Cole on top and a D for Miss Dowling on the bottom, and I'm going to draw what each teacher gathered. And I'm asking you to draw it with me on your paper as well. So the 2,000s, those tricky cubes, we need 2 of those. Four hundreds. Nine tens. And 3 ones. Miss Dowling had 3 thousands. One hundred, 3 tens, and 4 ones. So, how many thousands did they have all together? Correct, they had 5 thousands. How many hundreds did they have all together? Correct, they had 5 hundreds. How many tens did they have all together? Correct, they had 12 tens. And how many ones did they have all together? Awesome job, they had 7 ones. So they wanted to know what is the biggest number they could create if they put all of their blocks together. So we know in unit form how many blocks they have all together. 5 thousands, 5 hundreds, 12 tens, and 7 ones. So what would that number look like in standard form? Is there any regrouping that we're going to have to do? Correct, those 12 tens we have to regroup. We can decompose that 12 into 10 and 2, and those 10 tens is enough to give us another 100. So if we were to write their sum of their total blocks in standard form, they had 5 thousands, 6 hundreds, 2 tens, and 7 ones. So together they had 5,627 blocks. Great job. Okay, we're going to do another word problem together. Let's start by just reading the word problem. Katie has 3,537 stamps in her collection, and Steve has 642 stamps in his collection. How many stamps do Katie and Steve have in all? So anytime I read a word problem with my class, I ask them two questions. What do we know? What do we need to know? So think about that in your brain for just a second. What do we know? What are we trying to find out? So let's start with what do we know? Great job. We know that Katie has 3,537 stamps and that Steve has 642 stamps. What are we trying to find out? Awesome. We're trying to find out how many stamps they have in all. So what operation are we going to use to figure that out? Correct. We're going to add. We're going to add their stamps together. So on your paper, let's record how many stamps they each had. So we'll use a K for Katie. Katie had 3,537 stamps. Let's use an S for Steve. And Steve had 642 stamps. Now we can represent both of these numbers using our base 10 drawings. So let's do another sideways T-chart like we did with Miss Dow and Miss Cole. And let's put Katie on the top and we'll put Steve on the bottom. And let's draw base 10 blocks to represent the amount of stamps that Katie has. So let's say that number in unit form first. Say it with me. 3 thousands, 500s, 3 tens, and 7 ones. So that's what we need to draw. Let's start with our thousands. 3 thousands. Those weird cube shapes that are a little difficult to draw, but we can do it. Three thousands, 500s, 3 tens, and 7 ones. Now let's draw base 10 blocks to represent the amount of stamps Steve had. Let's say it in unit form first. Say it with me, please. Here we go. 6 hundreds, 4 tens, 2 ones. And that's exactly what we're going to draw. So he didn't have any thousands, so we don't have to draw any of those. He did, however, have 6 hundreds. So I need to draw 6 hundreds. He had 4 tens and 2 ones. Now it asked me to figure out how many stamps they have in all. So we can do that by adding our like units. Ones with ones, tens with tens, hundreds with hundreds, and so on. So let's start with our ones. Katie had 7 ones, Steve had 2 ones, so together they had 9 ones. 3 tens plus 4 tens gives me 7 tens. 5 hundreds plus 6 hundreds gives me how many hundreds? Correct, 11 hundreds. And 3 thousands plus no thousands or 0 thousandths gives me, correct, 3 thousandths. So now I know how many total stamps they have in unit form. They have 3 thousandths, 11 hundredths, 7 tenths, and 9 ones. But what does that look like in standard form? Are we going to have to do any regrouping? Correct. These 11 hundredths we're going to have to regroup. I can decompose that 11 into 10 and 1, and those 10 hundredths are enough to give me another 1,000. So in standard form, altogether I had 4 thousandths, 100, 7 tenths, and 9 ones. So altogether they had 4,179 stamps. Great job. And I'm going to give you one more addition expression to solve on your own. So move to the next blank spot on your piece of paper and write this expression down. 1,145 plus 1,225. What is the sum of that equation? I'm going to give you 1 minute to work on your own. Using the strategies that we learned today, what is the sum? Great job. It is 2,370, or in unit form, I would say 2 thousandths, 3 hundredths, and 7 tenths. Great work, boys and girls. Today we worked really hard to explore addition with base 10 drawings. You did amazing work. After the video is completed, you will have some other problems to practice on your own. I enjoyed doing some math with you today. Thank you for inviting me into your home. I look forward to seeing you in our next lesson in the Tennessee At Home Learning Series.